the first style that I want to go over, it's a very quick style. If you're not sharing any stories and if you're not educating, you could probably be done with this in 10 minutes. Why do I love this technique? I have discovered that I can cut my time in half. The last 2 years, braids were very, very popular. Every time I had a bride sitting in my chair, they wanted a big fluffy braid or they wanted some braids incorporated into the style. The problem with my clientele, 90% of the clientele, they are Europeans. Their wedding start on Friday, they end on Sunday. So I need to make sure that style actually lasts more than 30 minutes while they sit in my chair. So I'm huge on feedback from my clients. That's how my work improved so much, because I'm always open to criticism. Constructive criticism, okay? Don't put up with crap. And because I was open to that, every time when a client got back to me and they told me this didn't last, I will go back, recreate that style on my daughter or a mannequin doll. I will turn their head upside down, shake it really well, and then I will try to figure out what I did wrong or what can I do to improve my work. That's how I discovered that it's best when they come to me for those big fluffy braids to actually cheat a braid, because those big fluffy braids include a lot of pulling, and a lot of pulling means what? Very loose hair. So the moment they hit the sun, they start to dance, they start to sweat, that braid is eventually coming apart. Doesn't matter how much hairspray you put on it. Trust me, I know it. I put a stronghold bottle of hairspray on it and it still didn't stay. So every time when they come to me for those big braids, this is what I'm going for. And I did it halfway through because I don't want it to get you bored here and see me doing the same stuff over and over again. What I want you to have in mind is that you're only working with side sections. You are not touching the middle. You are not incorporating your previous section into your next one. You're securing your next section on top of the previous one. So we're not touching the middle. I recommend you to use extensions when you go for this, because all the big braids, even if you're going for regular braids, include a lot of pulling. And when you're pulling, you're taking off length. Make sense? So you might try to convince your client that that will look better if they use extensions. Now, we are only working with side sections. Taking the sections, I recommend you to brush those sections before you secure them with the rubber band. That way, when you pull, that section will look smoother. Can I have a rubber band? If you guys can see. Now, rubber bands, very important. When you secure those rubber bands, they need to be tight enough to hold whatever you're creating, but not too tight to not be able to pull. You need to have the flexibility to pull. So something in between, you're going to get the grip of that as you play with hair and you practice. Now, most of the times when I get to the last section, in this case, it doesn't really stick out, but most of the times when I do this, this last section is sticking out. So what I do in order to make that look better, I flip that over, that last section, and that way I don't have that last section sticking out. Now, why do I like this technique? It allows me to create 3 different styles. I can go for the look of a braid, I can go for a curly downdo, although her hair is not really curly, it was just wavy. But I want to show you how to create a curly downdo without using any hot tools, because that will sell you what? At least 35 to 45 minutes, right? And if you're not happy with that, you can turn this into an updo. So I kind of give you the head and shoulders, 3-in-1, Lala's Updos head and shoulders. So we're going, in order to make this like a curly downdo, it's all about the way you're pulling. So very important, when you're pulling, you have to hold that section, and when you're pulling small. Here and there, you're not pulling the whole section at once. If you do that, you're going to end up just with more flat looking braid. So I'm going back to my first section, and I'm pulling. Do not be afraid to pull, because you're trying to create a very big, fluffy, curly downdo. Can you guys see how I'm pulling here and there? And how this is turning into something completely different? Do you guys love it? Did you guys have any lunch? Any coffee? Because you don't seem like when the legend left the stage, everyone left. I'm like, shit. I'm like, it's gonna be only me up on stage and nobody else watching. I'm like, I'm praying for that day when I will be like the legend and people will line up for my class. Hey, I made it far. So far, look at me. I came in this country in 2010 with a small suitcase, a 1.5 year old daughter. I didn't know any English. The only English that I knew was to say, my name is Laura and I love popcorn. The only job that none of my education was recognized when I came here, so I had to go to beauty school all over again. The only job that I could take, if that happens, don't worry, you always wear one of these with you and you just cut it off, you know. They don't really see what you're doing back there. No, don't do that. But if that happens, don't take everything down just for that section. Can you guys see? Now, look the flexibility that you have to pull because we did rubber bands instead of a regular braid. Can you guys see the flexibility that you have to pull as much as you want and make it as big as you want? Does that look like a curly downdo? Totally. And we didn't use any hot tools. And it took me what? Probably if I would have started from the beginning, I would say 7 to 9 minutes, 10 the most, okay? Now, if you're not happy with this, every time I do my curly updos, I use this technique as a base. Why should I go and curl the whole head if I can curl only the top? Let's say they don't like this flat. They want curls. Then I leave the crown out. I build my base with this technique, and when I'm done, I'm just going and curl 5 sections and pin them on my base. And I'm done in 15 to 20 minutes the most. Most of the times, if you have an assistant with you, probably it won't even take you that much. Now, let's say you want to do an updo from this one. If you want a side updo, I recommend you when you build this to sit on the side because your body position, I mean the hair follows your body position. So if they want something on the side, you kind of like position yourself on the side when you build this. If they want it on the back, then you're just going to sit on the back. We're tucking those ends in. And that's your curly updo. You know when you see those really cool, relaxed, loose updos, and they look like they spend a lot of time curling and pinning and all that? Or you can go to the side, or you can even go with 2 of them. Can you guys see? Do you guys like it? I can hear you. Come on, you guys can do better than that. I was like shaking here and sweating. There we go. So that's your curly downdo without using any hot tools. Let me talk a little bit about the product. In this case, her hair was all the way here, so we had to use extensions. I put extensions in her hair. In my beginning in the hair industry, the bridal industry, I used to use hairspray every time I was putting clip-ins because that's the only extensions that I use. I would tease the hair and put hairspray. I have discovered down the road as I was experimenting and trying all kind of products that if you're using the volumizing powder instead of the hairspray, those extensions stay so good in the hair, even if they sweat, they are not going down because of the texture of that volumizing powder. That volumizing powder pretty much acts like super glue. So I recommended to try that. If you're working with clip-in extensions instead of using a hairspray, try to use the volumizing powder before. Now, every time I have a bride that is coming to me for anything that it's down, like a downdo, I do not use any oil-based product. And the reason for that, I'm based in Sacramento. We are in the valley. We get 110 during the summer. So when I do summer brides, I do not want to mess with anything that I'm creating there. And anything that has an oil base, when they hit the sun and they start to dance, that eventually will go down. So how do I get rid of the frizz? Because a lot of the clients, they sit in your chair, you educate them, do not wash your hair 24 hours prior to the event, and they come with the hair wet, right? And then you have to blow dry, and then you deal with a lot of silky hair, a lot of frizz, hair that is very hard to control. A lot of people, I see them using the texture hairspray. I do not like to use the texture hairspray, and the reason for that, that's really heavy, and it gets the hair a little bit sticky. The only time I'm using the texture hairspray is when I'm going for the beachy waves, because I need that texture. But when I'm trying to control that frizz and get that texture, I'm actually using dry shampoo. And I really recommend you guys to try the dry shampoo. It doesn't give it doesn't leave the hair oily, and it doesn't give you that stickiness that the texture hairspray gives you. So you get rid of the frizz, you get the texture, and it smells beautiful. All the dry shampoos out there smell beautiful, right? So it's not messing with anything that you're creating. Once you're done, you're gonna clean with medium hold hairspray. You do not need to use strong hold hairspray unless you're doing for like real curls and you're done and you're not touching the hair. That's the only time when I use strong hold hairspray. And of course, when I'm done, I always finish with this, the hair and shine. Don't go crazy with it if you're going for curls because it has a lot of oil in it. What I love about it is that if you forget your lotion at home, you can use it on your body. And it smells like roses. So that's how you create a style in 10 minutes or less.